Super Rugby Unlocked, the Saturday games. I've watched them Sunday morning here in New Zealand. Admittedly, I did watch them both at the same time. I watched the Bulls and Griquas live, and without knowing the result, I managed to watch the Cheetahs and the Pumas at the same time on the laptop. So, yeah, I may have missed a few things because there was certainly a ton of tries scored, especially by the Cheetahs, but overall, a lot of tries in both games. I tried to take notes furiously watching the games, but I'll give you guys my thoughts on the games. You guys can let me know yours in the comments, as always, and some of the key stats and whatnot. So, yeah, we'll start with the Cheetahs and the Pumas. You would have to say it was a game of two halves, and the Cheetahs looked absolutely lethal in that first half. Like, oh my goodness. It was getting embarrassing, and at half time it looked like it was going to be a cricket score, to be honest. But I mean, it was still high scoring, but it was my first time seeing the Pumas play, and I will definitely give them credit for not letting themselves get too down, and they won the second half, which doesn't get you anything, but apart from a bit of respect, maybe. So respect to those guys for not getting like 100 points put on them, and they actually managed to win the second half. I mean, there's tries galore. The first one is for Malcolm Yah, who gets a hat trick. Blomakis is the guy who sets it up with his offload and a great conversion, 7-0. They had fake crowd noise playing in this game, and it was more like a fake crowd cheer button, which they didn't need. I mean, the game has how many tries? I don't even know. I lost count. It doesn't need the fake crowd noise, man. The game's got its own stuff going for it. The Pumas did kick a penalty to make it 7-3 on about 6 minutes. The Cheetahs kicked one on 9 to make it 10-3. Both the penalties were kind of conceded at the breakdown. But then Yar gets another one on the right wing this time. The first one was on the left wing. Pokomela and Stain with good hands in the build-up. Pokomela kind of beat a couple of defenders getting over the advantage line. Stain likewise. They missed the conversion, so it's 15-3. Pokomela gets a try of his own, and he showed a bit of gas as well, I thought. The winger bit in for that one, so all it meant was Pokomela had basically the try line to get to. He had one man chasing him down, but he did it pretty easily. 22-3. Speckman gets in on the action on the left wing from a Franz Stain kick through. It could have been Malcolm Yah as well. They were both out on that same wing, but Speckman was the guy who got to it. It was coming, basically. The Cheetahs were putting on all kinds of pressure. They missed the conversion. 27-3. Speckman gets another one a couple of minutes later. Blomakis with a high ball. He takes it. He beats a few people, and again, it's that offload, man. He had a few tries today. He's just real dangerous, that guy. 34-3. Right before halftime, Speckman hits the ball at pace and just runs a perfect line straight through. And, yeah, he passes the ball to Ruan Pienaar unselfishly. So instead of getting a hat trick, Ruan Pienaar gets on the board as well. So it's 41-3 at halftime. Like I said, it was almost looking like cricket score territory. They interviewed one of the Pumas coaches at halftime, and he was pretty dejected. But yeah, they were certainly more pleasing in the second half. It didn't look like it to start with because Small Smith goes over for a try, so it looks like the second half's just going to be a resumption of service. It's on the left wing because they've taken Speckman off. I think he had a hamstring twitch, so they were like, no, let's not risk him. 48-3. But that's largely, apart from one more Malcolm Yah try, that's where the scoring stops for the Cheetahs and where it starts for the Pumas, which is, again, like pretty reassuring. Maybe a bit concerning if you're the Cheetahs that you maybe took your foot off the gas a little bit. It's probably a combination of both, but you can't take things away from the Pumas because they had to keep fighting. I've been to enough club rugby games where it's 40 points to 3 at half time and it finishes like 80-6 because the team just starts putting their hand on their hips and they just kind of give up. So, yeah, the first one's from Smuts on 45 minutes. That one is kind of Pienaar's fault. He just drops the ball at the back of the scrum and he pounces on it for Smuts and runs over for the try, so good heads-up play from him. At that point, it's 48-10. Yar gets his hat-trick, though. It's that man Blommakeys again with the pass. They're just too good at drawing the defenders from the back of that scrum. They missed the conversion, so it was 53-10. So the last scoring for the Cheetahs is that play on 57 minutes from Malcolm Yar. That's it. All the rest of it's the Pumas. They got one through Martins on 62 minutes. The TMO checked it to make sure that the ball had been put down. It was like put on one of the Cheetahs players' legs, but it still managed to touch the dirt. And 53-17. And things get a little bit worse for the Cheetahs because Louis van der Vesthuizen gets yellow carded for, I guess it was like a tip tackle. He was going for a tackle, and I think it was that man Martins who was reaching up for overextending for a ball, and because he was overextending, the tackle just kind of tipped him over, so they decided yellow card rather than red. I think if he's not overextending and he drops him that way, it's probably red, but the ref kind of rightly said, look, he's overextended, so he's contributed to it, which seems sensible. So it was only a yellow for him. However, during that yellow card, right towards the end of it, and the Pumas have got, what was it, like 17 phases with the extra man? Roots got his try to make it 53-24. So that yellow card finishes 7-0, which is probably the minimum you want to get from a yellow card. So Cheetahs defense hung on for as long as it could, but couldn't quite get there. And then 80 minutes, Moritz gets a try. He beats about 4 players with some pretty slick stepping. So it finishes 53-31. That second half is like 28-12, I think. So yeah, man, game of two halves. There's no reward for it for the Pumas, but like I said, certainly a bit of respect for them for keeping in the fight. The Cheetahs, as I said, blew us away in the first half. But maybe, if you want to look on the negative side of things, a little bit worrying that they conceded 28 points in that second half. But overall, if you're a Cheetahs fan, you still have to be pretty happy scoring half 100. But yeah, cracking game, good entertainment. Didn't need the fake crowd noise because it was entertaining enough on its own, I thought. The next one, the Bulls and the Griquas. Jersey clash. Oh my goodness. What is it with any competition being named Super Rugby and seemingly being prone to a jersey clash? The Bulls are wearing blue and the Griquas are wearing that kind of, what color is that? It's a bluey green. There's definitely a more official name for it than that. And they probably up close look not too bad, but certainly on the TV they look bad, and they changed them at halftime. That's the second time the Bulls have had to change their jerseys at halftime. I remember in Super Rugby before lockdown they had to do the same thing, but that was an away team not bringing a sensible jersey. I think it might have been the Highlanders. Can't remember. But yeah, they should have been in the yellow one from the get-go, I would have imagined. Anyway, what did I learn from this one? Because it was my first time watching the Griquas. Man, I underestimated those guys big time. And maybe I overestimated the Bulls based on that Superfan Saturday. The Bulls' passes and stuff were not sticking. They were getting turned over. Griquas were pretty good value, but overall couldn't quite hold out. They got the first points. They got a penalty on 9 minutes. Breakdown penalty to make it 3-0. But then they knocked it on from the kickoff, which was a bit of a let-off. The Bulls got a scrum penalty. To be honest, I missed the first few minutes because this game was on at 6 a.m. And by the time I'd got up, made myself a coffee and a little bit of quick breakfast, it was already like 5 minutes in. But they weren't taking threes, and apparently they'd already turned down a few threes before I started watching. They did it again, but they conceded a penalty at the breakdown the Bulls, so they weren't able to crack the Griquas defense early. Eventually, on 16 minutes, they did go for the three. It was like a mini victory, the commentators mentioned, for the Griquas, that the Bulls had stopped going for the corner and wanted to take the three, and then they missed it. Mornay Steyn, uncharacteristic miss from him. And yeah, like I mentioned, the breakdown was just being a bit of a killer for the Bulls. They just kept getting turned over. 21 minutes, Ishmael gets a big old line break. I think it was Apollon outside him. They got a 2-on-1, and somehow the Bulls don't manage to convert. I think Ishmael eases off instead of just running hard. The commentators mentioned that kind of same thing. and it allows the defenders to catch up. So what seemed like a sure try-scoring opportunity is not converted, and guess what? They can see the penalty at the breakdown from there as well. 24 minutes, Fonsale kicks it out on the full from the back of a scrum, and I literally wrote WTF Bulls, like what was going on. I couldn't understand it, and I'm sure Bulls fans were pulling their hair out. But 25 minutes, it gets worse because the Griquas, who again I will definitely say I underestimated, they get a try through that man Verity who gets a brace in this one, but he gets the first one, and it's just a kind of simple catch and pass going back to the blind side after seemingly, pushing some defenders to open side, and it's just too easy, man. It's 10-0 to the Griquas right before half time. However, and the Griquas will be pretty disappointed, the Bulls kicked the penalty on 37 minutes. It was a scrum penalty, and the scrum was one area the Bulls will be pretty happy with. 10-3, and then Jenkins with a line break. So this man, how do you pronounce his name? Is it Norcha? Right on 40 minutes, so right at the death of that first half. So somehow it's 10 apiece at half time. After the Griquas, I thought had been pretty good value. But I looked at the stats. Possession was 51-49 to the Bulls. Territory was 65-35, which was maybe a bit telling. And the Griquas had to make 20 more tackles. So it was 53-32. And I wrote a little note. Is that going to be tiring for the Griquas? Like over the course of the 80, is it going to be costly? And it's interesting that the Griquas conceded points right to the end of a tiring first half. They conceded 10 points. So, yeah. As I mentioned, thankfully there's a jersey change at halftime. But the second half starts off poorly for the Bulls because Agaba gets a yellow card for, I think it was collapsing a maul. I was watching both games. I saw him getting yellow carded for something cynical. I'm assuming that's what it was. And, the Griquas go about 5 phases in attack with the extra man. However, the Bulls managed to turn them over and get a penalty. So, good exit for them. However, right as it seems like the Bulls have kind of gotten out of jail with the man down, Foreman gets a try on 45 minutes. And it's a bit of a gift. The Bulls throw like a last-minute offload before going into touch after there's been a bit of a cross kick. And this man Foreman intercepts it. And, man. Good try. Good try. What can you say? It was a nice little bit of gas. However, they missed the conversion. So it's 10 points to 15 in the Griquas' favour. 5 points scored during the yellow card. And then they get a penalty not long after the Griquas. So it's 18-10. They're beyond a 7-pointer. I'm still kind of shaking my head as to what's going on with the Bulls. And, the Griquas have managed 8 points during the yellow card. 52 minutes, though, Van Staden gets held up. It's almost a try for the Bulls. That man, Cassander, he stopped a couple of tries in this one, to be fair. He was the man who held the ball up, so good effort from him. However, Whitehead gets yellow carded for not rolling away. When they show that one in slow motion, it's pretty tough on Whitehead. But the ref had just warned them, so he wasn't having a bar of anything. And, that period means the yellow card is over for the Bulls. Now the Griquas go a man down, and there's a scrum because it's been held up. The Bulls just rolled it with a penalty try. The scrum was looking just so good, and it had to be a penalty try. Sure enough, it was. So it becomes a 1-pointer, 18-17. It's 7 points for the Bulls for that yellow card. Somehow, the Bulls seemingly blow another chance to score. This time it's Cornell Hendricks. They've done everything. He just needs to maybe take one last little bit of contact before going over. And the Griquas, I think it was Cassander again, the defender, his arm, as he kind of tries to wrap. He wasn't going to stop Hendricks, but he managed to knock the ball loose. So it's a knock on. Again, Bulls fans would have been pulling their hair out. So it's a blown opportunity for the Bulls. They did, though, go in front on 62. They kicked the penalty to make it 20-18. It's 10 points scored during the yellow card, so pretty costly for Whitehead's yellow card. And then Borta gets a try on the back of a big scrum. He goes like 15-20 meters. And it's 27-18. 27-18, I'm thinking that's it, man. The Griquas are too tired. the Bulls are just going to run rampage. However, again, it's me maybe not giving these Griquas guys enough credit, because Veritiam gets another one on 70 minutes. TMO checks the build-up play because it was a bit of loose ball. Like the Griquas guy seemed to drop it in a tackle, but it was it knocked back by a Bulls guy. They checked that the kicker wasn't. They checked the Veritiam wasn't in front of the kicker. He wasn't, so he was maybe level. And they missed the conversion, so it's 27 points to 23. However, again, a bit costly for the Griquas. They concede a penalty from the kickoff, so Mornay Stay makes it 30 points to 23. At best, it looks like the Griquas can get a draw, but they can't get it done, and the Bulls managed to see that one out. So, yeah, not exactly convincing for the Bulls after Superfan Saturday's result. They'll certainly take the win. Come from behind win as it was. A few missed opportunities. And, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty pleased for the Griquas that they didn't get run over, to be honest, compared to this game where it was a stirring comeback, but they never looked a chance, whereas the Griquas actually looked a decent chance in this one. So, yeah, penalties conceded was too costly for the Griquas in the end, man. 16-7. Some of those at scrum time. Possession 54-46, territory 60-40. So the Bulls, if they're taking their chances, may have not looked quite as tight as it was, but they certainly didn't look the finished article. They shouldn't, because they've only had a couple of games, but I thought they would win by more. Credit to the Griquas for giving them a right good game. We'll see how things go in the next round. But yeah, certainly pretty entertaining stuff. Tries galore in this game. And, I mean, there were still 6 tries in this game, man. Very tight right down to the finish. So, yeah, pretty pleased. You guys let me know your thoughts on the game. Remember, there is actual test match rugby on this afternoon, New Zealand time. It's like a horrendous time for you guys in South Africa. But if you are getting up, I hope you enjoy the All Blacks and the Wallabies. This was the warm-up one for me this morning. So, yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm in a rugby mood. And, yeah, we'll see how the test match goes this afternoon. Hopefully it can live up to these games, because these ones, like, the execution wasn't always there, but yeah, still pretty entertaining. So, yeah. You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.